In this how-to video, we're going to walk through all the options that now need set up with the new inventory and purchase order module that's been launched. Let's start by going to the main menu, going to settings, and clicking on the company setup. The first area we want to go to is in setup, and it's the defaults. So go ahead and click to expand. So a new option that we have in here is the option to blind ship to customers. If we have it off, it will not be an option for you to blind ship to your customers. An example of this would be if I had an outsourced screen printer or embroiderer that I would want them to ship directly to the customer, or perhaps even a promotional product. If I set it to on, I now can blind ship to the customer. The next option we want to expand is the purchase order. We can ignore the PO email link template because hopefully you've already set that up. But there are 4 new options in here. The first one being create PO, mark as sent. I would like to recommend that this option be turned off if you are going to be using the integration to purchase from vendors. If you are not going to be using that integration feature, then go ahead and turn that on. What will happen then is as soon as you create a purchase order for a vendor, it will automatically mark it as sent. And then on the job board on the progress circle, it will mark it as 100% and green all in one fell swoop. In the option Create GRV Autofill Quantity options, you have the option to either fill to max receivable or set to 0. When receiving goods in off of a purchase order, the fill to max receivable means it's going to auto-populate all the goods that you need to receive. The set to 0 option means you want to clear out what needs to be received in and manually enter in the numbers yourself. The next option, Create GRV Sort Quantity By, has 3 options. You can either use the invoice due date, you can use the quantity received ascending, or you can use the quantity received descending. In this instance, the invoice due date is probably the best selection. If you have the first option set to autofill and then select the next option to quantity received ascending, it will now receive items towards the order that requires the most quantity for a specific style, color, and size option. For example, if I need the G200 white extra large for multiple orders, it will receive the goods for the order that has the largest quantity first. This way, if you did not receive all the goods, then the order with the most items needed gets fulfilled first. In the last option, Show PO Note to Supplier, I do recommend that you turn this option on. And what will happen is when you go to put a note in the PO wizard for a supplier, that note will now print on the purchase order. Now let's move over to the Inventory tab. The first option you see here is Warehouse List. And the first thing you want to do is click on New Warehouse if there's no option that exists here. Hopefully there is a warehouse that exists called My Warehouse. You can actually delete that and create a new one if you would like to create a specific name for it, or you can go ahead and edit the option to then just give it a specific new name. Once you have your warehouses set, click on the settings option and decide which warehouse you would like to default to. In the case of only one warehouse, it's a given that that will be the one selected in the dropdown. For time purpose of this video, let's go ahead and click on vendor integration, but I'm only going to show you Alpha Broder. All the other vendors will work very similarly. Go ahead and click on Alpha Broder to expand. We'll start on the Setup tab, and then we'll just keep going to the Pricing, Warehouse, Purchasing, and more about integration tabs. First and foremost, if you're going to be using Alpha Broder, you want to turn on the integration. Secondly, your account number, if you've been using Alpha Broder integration, should already be in there. And then your username and password as well. The new option here is to choose the supplier in Teesom to link to the integrated vendor. So all you have to do is simply click the drop down and select Alpha Broder. You can save at this point, but you can also save when you're done with all the tabs. Let's go ahead and move on to the pricing option. Here, I've selected the option to use special price. What that means is when I create an order, and you can see that verbiage here, it is actually going to use the sale price. I'm actually going to turn that off. I do not want it using the sale price when I create an order for my customer. I only want it to create the sale price when I'm creating a purchase order. And then in this option, the price will be used if special pricing is turned off. So with Alpha Broder, I only have one option. It isn't until you get over to Sanmar or SNS that you have an option as to what price to use. So for example, they may offer a case price or a piece price or a dozen price. In this case, Alpha only returns one price. Let's click on the warehouses option. You now have 3 options to choose to designate which warehouse from Alpha Broder are your preferred warehouses. So me being based in Florida, I'm obviously going to select the Orlando, Florida option as a good warehouse. California, obviously, for me, is a bad warehouse because it is so far away. And now Georgia, although it's not one of my preferred warehouses, I did put it as the medium or meh warehouse. And you can continue to select the options for each of those warehouses. This way, when you check stock levels on an order, it'll come up as orange where the quantity is coming from a bad warehouse, or it'll come up green where the quantity is coming from a good warehouse, or it'll come up blue showing that the quantity that we can get for that product is coming from the meh warehouse. Let's go ahead and click on purchasing. In this setup option, we have the ability to default to allow Alpha Broder to short ship goods to us or to split ship goods to us. So if they're all coming out of the same warehouse, but yet they all can't come at the same time, that would be the short ship option. If it's coming out of different warehouses, well then it's the split ship option. On the attention to option, this is where we can select a user in Teesom to say, this is the person who's going to be doing all the purchasing. Or if your shop is set up where whoever is logged in can do purchasing, well then you can use the user logged in option. Ship method, assign the default ship method for this vendor, and obviously we can select it to UPS ground, and then again at any time this option can be changed. The default warehouse to buy from, obviously I want to go to my closest vendor, or I can just have Teesom auto assign the warehouses. There are a couple of new features in the supplier option. So let's go ahead and go to the main menu and go to suppliers. And I'm just going to again select Alpha Broder here and click on the action button and click on edit. The 2 new options that are now available are 2 new account references. This is great if you have a promotional product vendor that you want to use an ASI number with or a PPAI number, and you want to list both of those on the actual PO. And then on the Advanced tab, I just want to show you this real quick because this will affect the PO wizard. If you want to select Alpha Broder to always ship to your office, then you do want to click on this little default ship to address, little truck icon here. If you want it to select or always ship to this location, you would then click the little truck icon there. The only other option would be is you can switch it to say that you're going to actually pick up the goods from Alpha Broder's warehouse. I hope all these instructions have been helpful. If you need any help with anything, please don't hesitate to use the widget located in the lower left-hand corner or send an email to contactus@teesom.com. You can also find documentation in our manual. Thank you for watching.